My wife texted me at 7:12 a.m. Change of plans. You're not coming to Europe. The kids want their real dad. For a second, I stood there in the cookroom with my phone in one hand and a half-made peanut butter sandwich in the other, like the universe had caught me mid-bite and decided to edit my life while I chewed. The house was awake but quiet. In that way it gets right before school, cereal bowls on the counter, backpack sagging by the front door, a sock on the stairs that had been there long enough to earn its own name. Our little one was humming in the living room, building a tower out of blocks. My teenager, Evan, 15, all elbows and attitude, was in the bathroom with the door shut and the shower running like it was trying to erase him. I read the text twice because the first time my brain refused to accept it spoke English. Real dad, I've been a lot of things in my life. I've been broke. I've been tired. I've been the guy who shows up early and locks the building at night because nobody else bothers. But I have never been unreal. I looked around the cookroom and noticed small things the way you do when you're trying not to notice the big thing. Mara's charger cord was gone from its usual spot by the outlet. Her travel mug was clean and upside down in the drying rack. 2 suitcase wheels had tracked a faint line of lint through the hallway like snails. She'd been packing while I was asleep. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could have fired back a paragraph. I could have called. I could have done what I always did when Mara got dramatic. Try to talk her down, apologize for crimes I didn't commit, make peace so the kids wouldn't have to hear the Cold War in the walls. Instead, I typed, "Got it. Safe travels." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Came back. Disappeared again. Then, "Thanks for understanding. Don't make this harder." I stared at that line until my reflection in the black screen looked like someone I didn't recognize. My chest didn't explode. My fists didn't clench. My body did something worse. It got calm. Because the moment you realize someone is willing to rewrite you out of your own family, you stop arguing about commas. You start counting days. 14. They'd be gone 14 days. That's a long time to be stupid, or a long time to be surgical. Evan finally came out, hair wet, eyes sharp. He saw my face, and the look he gave me wasn't teenage sarcasm. It was something older. "What's wrong?" he said. "Mom changed plans," I said. "You guys are going to Europe." He blinked. "Without you?" "Without me." He didn't smile. He didn't look relieved. He just looked confused, like the math stopped adding up. From the living room, my little one called, "Dad, look, castle." "Looks great," I called back, and my voice didn't crack. That scared me too. When Mara came down 10 minutes later, she was dressed like an airport commercial. Soft sweater, neat jeans, hair perfect in that casual way that takes 40 minutes. She didn't kiss me. She didn't even touch my arm. She moved through the cookroom like it belonged to her, and I was a piece of furniture she was tired of dusting. "We're leaving in an hour," she said. "Okay," I said. Her eyes narrowed. She expected a fight. She wanted one. Mara fed on conflict the way some people feed on sugar. Evan watched her. Then he watched me. Then he looked away like he'd decided neither answer was safe. Mara picked up her keys and said, "We'll talk when we get back." That was when I realized she truly believed this was temporary, a punishment, a lesson she'd teach me, like I was a dog that peed on the rug. She walked out to the garage without looking back. I waited until the car pulled away. I listened to the engine fade. I listened to the silence settle into the house. Then I went to the desk in the corner of the dining room where we kept the family stuff. Bills, school forms, insurance papers. The boring spine of our life. My name was on most of it, so was my access. I logged into our phone account, the one I paid for, the one Mara never thought about because it just worked. I didn't need to hack anything. I didn't need to sneak. I just needed to look. There it was. The same number over and over. Late nights, early mornings. 5 minutes, 23, 2 minutes, 41. A rhythm that looked like breathing. The contact name on Mara's phone I already knew from glancing once in the past. Work printer. Sure. I wrote the number down on a sticky note. My hand didn't shake. 14 days, I thought. Then I heard the garage door open again, and my heart did a stupid little hopeful jump. But it wasn't Mara. It was Evan, running back in with his backpack bouncing. He'd forgotten his passport. He froze when he saw me at the desk with the phone records open. Our eyes met. He didn't ask what I was doing. He didn't have to. He just said, very quietly, "Dad, are you coming later?" I looked at my son, and for the first time that morning, the calm cracked enough for something hot to seep through. "No," I said, "but I'm not staying either." His mouth opened, closed. "Go," I told him. "They're waiting." He hesitated, then ran back out, and the garage door swallowed him up. When the house was silent again, I picked up the sticky note with that number and held it between two fingers like it might be poisonous. "Okay," I whispered to the empty room. "So you didn't just cancel Europe. You replaced me." People think revenge starts with yelling, or a smashed phone, or a suitcase thrown into the yard like a grenade. Mine started with a checklist. I opened my laptop and pulled up our shared calendar. Mara hadn't even bothered to remove me from it. She'd just moved the trip details to a new event called Family Vacation, like I wasn't family anymore. Flight numbers, hotel names, tour reservations. A little heart emoji next to one day labeled Special Dinner. That emoji did something to me. It wasn't rage, it was clarity. The kind you get in the ER waiting room when you realize a doctor is about to walk out and change your life in one sentence. I checked our cloud photo stream. There were pictures from the last week I hadn't seen, Mara in a fitting room, smiling at her own reflection, a cropped shot of a man's shoulder in one mirror, the sleeve of an expensive jacket, a hand, male, holding a coffee cup in the corner of another frame, not enough to convict, enough to confirm. Then I did the thing Mara would have called paranoid, which is just her favorite word for prepared. I pulled my credit report. I printed the latest bank statements. I downloaded the kids' school info. I saved screenshots of that text. I wasn't planning a crime. I was planning a life raft. At 9:03, I called Tess. Tess Monroe had been my college friend's older sister, the kind of woman who carried herself like she had a spine made of steel cable. She'd become a family law attorney. Mara called her intense. I called her when I needed reality. Tess answered on the second ring. "Cal," she said, and her voice instantly dropped into that professional calm. "What happened?" "She took the kids," I said. "Europe, without me. And she texted me something I can't unread." "What did she say?" I told her. There was a pause so long I could hear her breathing. "Okay," Tess said. "First, you don't do anything that makes you look unstable. No threats, no scene. Second, you document everything. Third, you do not leave the house and vanish unless you have a plan for optics." "I have a plan," I said. "Do you, or do you have a feeling?" "I have a plan," I repeated, and realized it was true. Tess sighed. "Tell me." "She thinks she erased me," I said. "I'm going to make sure she learns how hard it is to erase ink." A softer pause. Then Tess said, "Legal revenge is slow." "Not if you push on the right pressure points," I said. "You work in risk management," she said. "You always think in pressure points." "That's why I'm calling you." "Okay," Tess said. "Then here's the rule. Everything you do must be defensible if a judge hears it. You want consequences? Fine. But you stay on the right side of the line. Understood?" "Understood." "Where are you right now?" "In my house, alone." "Good. Get a witness for anything you can, and Cal—" "Yeah?" "Those kids," she said. "Whatever you do, keep them out of the blast." I looked down the hallway at the sock on the stairs. I looked at the living room tower, abandoned mid-castle. "I will," I said. At 11:30, I packed a duffel bag. Nothing dramatic. Clothes, laptop, chargers, a folder of papers, the kid's favorite stuffed animal that had been left behind, because leaving comfort behind felt like a crime. At noon, I texted Mara. "Work emergency. I have to travel. I'll be reachable. Have a good trip." She responded with a thumbs up. A thumbs up. Like I'd just told her the milk was low. At 12:17, I drove to a storage facility 10 miles away. I rented a unit for 3 months. I moved the important things into it: my grandfather's watch, my box of old photos, the spare set of house keys, the binder with the kids' birth certificates. At 1:40, I met Miles. Miles had been my best friend since we were both 21 and broke and convinced we were going to become different people by 30. He worked security contracts now, the boring kind, guarding warehouses, tracking cameras for companies who didn't want lawsuits. He took one look at me and said, "You look like you swallowed glass." "Yeah," I said. "You got a minute?" He listened while I told him the basics. His jaw tightened. When I finished, he didn't say the usual friend stuff. He didn't say, "Maybe it's a misunderstanding." Miles had never believed in misunderstandings. He believed in patterns. "What do you need?" he asked. "A second set of eyes," I said. "And a witness." "I'm in," he said. No questions. By evening, I had a cheap motel room 2 states over. I paid cash because it wasn't a crime to want privacy. It was just smart. I lay on the bed staring at the cracked ceiling, listening to trucks on the highway. I kept thinking about that heart emoji on Mara's calendar. about the way she'd said, "We'll talk when we get back." Like I was going to sit obediently at home and wait. She didn't know me anymore. Maybe she never had. Around midnight, I opened my email and searched Mara's name. A message popped up from a nonprofit gala committee. Subject line, "Final donor list and VIP seating." I clicked. And there it was, 2 nights from now, while Mara was sipping wine in Europe. A donor party hosted at the downtown museum, my company's logo on the sponsor banner, Gavin's company listed as a platinum partner, and the VIP seating list had one name that made my teeth grind. Mara. She was supposed to be there. She hadn't canceled everything. She'd only canceled me. I sat up on the motel bed and felt something inside me click into place like a lock. If Mara wanted a real dad, I thought, staring at the glowing screen, I was going to introduce myself to the fake one. The museum smelled like money and polish. Marble floors, soft lights, security guards with earpieces pretending not to listen. The kind of place where people donate to look generous and drink to feel important. I didn't belong there, which made it easy to move through. Miles had gotten me in clean. He'd pulled a favor from a contractor buddy, put my name on a vendor list as operations support. Boring enough that nobody asked questions. I wore a cheap suit and a calm face. I practiced breathing like I was about to go on stage, because I was. The ballroom was a fish tank, glass walls, bright art on white pedestals, and people in black clothing drifting around like expensive shadows. Somewhere a string quartet played something that sounded sad on purpose. I saw Mara within 3 minutes. She stood near a sculpture that looked like twisted metal and called itself Hope. She wore a dress the color of dark wine and laughed too loud at something a man said beside her. That man was Gavin. He wasn't taller than me, but he carried himself like he expected the room to move out of his way. Hair perfect. Smile sharp. The kind of guy who never waited in line. He held a drink in one hand and a phone in the other, like both were extensions of his body. Mara leaned toward him when she laughed, shoulder brushing his arm. He didn't flinch. He didn't pull away. He let her touch him like she'd earned it. My stomach didn't flip. It went cold. Miles was positioned near the back, hands in his pockets, watching the exits like he always did. He gave me a tiny nod. Witness in place. I moved closer, pretending to study a painting that looked like someone spilled gray paint and got famous for it. From behind the frame, I watched. Gavin touched the small of Mara's back. Not a friendly tap, not a passing excuse me. A claim. Mara smiled up at him like she'd been starving and just found food. My phone buzzed. Tess. I ignored it. Not yet. I waited until Gavin peeled away from Mara and moved toward the bar. That was the moment I stepped out from behind the painting and walked straight at him. He saw me, and for a second, just a second, his face did the thing liars hate. It reset. Then the smile returned, smooth as oil. "Cal," he said, like we were buddies. "Hey, man." I stopped in front of him. Up close, I could see the faint shine of sweat at his hairline, the tiny tension at the corner of his mouth. Confidence takes work. "Gavin," I said. He leaned in as if sharing a secret. "Didn't think you'd make it," he said, "with Mara taking the kids and all." My pulse kicked. He knew. Of course he knew. The real dad text wasn't just Mara's cruelty. It was a script, probably written together over some smug lunch. I forced my face to stay neutral. "Had to stop by," I said. "Support a good cause." Gavin's eyes flicked past me, scanning, looking for Mara, looking for an advantage. He found it. Mara was watching now, eyes narrowed, lips pressed together in that way that meant she was already preparing her story. Gavin smiled wider. "You doing okay?" he asked, loud enough for the nearby donors to hear. "Mara said you've been stressed." Ah, there it was, unstable, jealous, the sad husband who can't handle being replaced. I leaned in, just slightly, and lowered my voice so only he could hear. "I'm great," I said. "Actually, I'm the best I've been in years." He blinked. I nodded toward the glass wall where the museum's security cameras sat like little black eyes. "See those?" I asked softly. "They're going to love you tonight." His smile twitched. "What are you talking about?" I took a sip of my water. No alcohol for me. I wanted my hands steady and my memory sharp. "I'm talking about choices," I said. "People make them. Then cameras remember them." Gavin's jaw flexed. "You can't just come here and—" "Cal," Mara said, appearing beside him like she'd been summoned. Up close, she smelled like perfume and airports. She didn't look guilty. She looked annoyed, like I'd tracked mud onto her clean floor. "This isn't the time," she said. "When is the time?" I asked. Her eyes flashed. "Not here." Gavin slid half a step closer to her. Protective, possessive. It would have been funny if it didn't hurt. You should go, Mara said. You're making people uncomfortable. Am I? I asked, loud enough that a couple nearby turned their heads. Mara's face tightened. She wanted to keep this private. She wanted me quiet. I smiled, small and polite. Don't worry, I said. I'm not here to make a scene. Gavin chuckled. Good, he said, because you don't want security involved. I looked at him. No, I said. You don't. For the first time, his eyes showed something real, fear. My phone buzzed again. Tess, again. I glanced down. A text. Do you have a clean way to prove the affair without breaking laws? I looked back up at the sponsor banner hanging above the stage. My company logo. Gavin's company logo. 100 phones in the room. A hired photographer with a huge camera moving between couples. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I do. I stepped back, nodded at Mara like she was a stranger, and said, Enjoy your party. Then I walked away into the crowd, letting them watch me leave, letting them write their assumptions. Behind me, I heard Mara hiss, What did you do? Gavin's voice was lower. Nothing. He's just trying to scare you. But his laugh sounded thinner this time, and as I slipped out of the ballroom and into the hallway, I knew something else too. Mara wasn't just cheating. She was already building the story where I was the problem. The next morning, I sat in a coffee shop that smelled like burnt espresso and regret, and I spread documents across the table like I was playing a lonely game of cards. Phone logs, calendar screenshots, a printout of the donor list. Miles sat across from me, stirring his coffee like he wanted to drown something in it. You're sure this is the guy? He asked. I'm sure, I said. And I'm sure he thinks he's untouchable. Miles nodded toward the phone logs. That's not proof of cheating, he said. That's proof of talking. I know, I said. Then what's the move? The move is pressure, I said. Pressure makes people show you who they are. I opened my laptop and sent an email to the museum's event coordinator. Polite, boring. I asked for access to the photos from the gala, for internal sponsor reporting. That was true. Sponsors did request photos. Nobody would blink. Then I emailed my company's compliance hotline, not with accusations, with concerns. I wrote, I have reason to believe a vendor partner may be engaged in an undisclosed relationship with an employee involved in contract decisions. I would like guidance on reporting process. I attached the donor list with Mara's name highlighted. I didn't say the word affair. I didn't have to. Companies hate two things, lawsuits and bad press. Both start with hidden relationships. Tess called me an hour later. You did it, she said. Did what? Compliance email, she said. They looped me in because you referenced family context. Cal, this is smart. This is also dangerous. Dangerous how? Because now it's real, she said. If Mara thinks you're trying to ruin her, she'll swing back. Custody, restraining order, social narrative. Be ready. I'm ready, I said, and I meant it. Tess lowered her voice. Did you do anything illegal? No, I said. I used my own accounts and public information. Good, she said. Stay clean. Also, Miles is with you, right? Yeah. Keep him, she said. Witnesses are underrated. After I hung up, I opened the event's public photo page. It wasn't updated yet, but there was a link to the photographer's business. I called. The photographer was cheerful. I pretended to be part of sponsor relations. I asked about turnaround times. He said he'd have a preview gallery up by tonight. I thanked him and hung up. Then my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I answered. Hello? A woman's voice, tight and careful. Is this Cal? She asked. Yes, I said. My name is Elise, she said. I think your wife is sleeping with my fiancé. For a second, I couldn't speak. Not because I didn't believe her, but because hearing it out loud made it heavier, like naming a disease. Elise, I said. Who's your fiancé? There was a small inhale. Gavin, she said. Miles's eyebrows shot up across the table. I stood and walked toward the window where the street noise could cover my voice. Elise, I said, how did you get my number? I didn't, she said. I got your email from a donor list. I found it on the museum committee page. I'm sorry, I know that's weird, but I saw your wife last night. You were there? I was supposed to be, Elise said. Gavin told me he had a meeting and couldn't bring me. Then I saw pictures posted by someone's spouse this morning, your wife with him, smiling like she belongs there. My grip tightened on the phone. What do you want? I asked. I want the truth, she said, and I want him to stop lying to me. If he's cheating, I need to know before I marry him. Before I marry him. There it was, the twist sliding into place like a knife under a rib. You're engaged, I said. Yes, she whispered. He's planning to propose officially after the holidays, but he's already... Her voice shook. He's already had me pick a venue. He's already had me meet his sister. I looked at the street outside. A bus passed. A man walked his dog. Normal life, just existing, while mine turned into a slow-motion crash. Elise, I said, I can't promise you anything yet, but I can tell you you're not crazy. There was silence on the other end, then softer. Neither are you. It wasn't a question. It was a confirmation, like she already knew Mara had painted me as unstable. We need to be careful, I said. We do this clean. I don't want to do anything illegal, she said quickly. Neither do I said. Miles watched me as I listened to Elise explain the little things. Gavin's new late meetings, the sudden password on his phone, the way he'd started calling her clingy when she asked normal questions. Gaslighting, dressed in a nice suit. When I hung up, Miles leaned forward. That's big, he said. It's leverage, I said. And it's a mirror. If he's doing it to her, he's been doing it. Miles nodded slowly. What's the end game? I stared at my coffee, now cold. The end game, I said, is for them to come back from Europe thinking they won. I looked at the sticky note with Gavin's number on it, still tucked in my wallet, and for Mara to still have no idea what I already did. Mara posted pictures from Europe, like she was auditioning for a life she didn't live, a cafe table with pastries arranged like jewelry, a shot of the kids in front of a cathedral, smiles too wide, eyes squinting in the winter sun, a hotel hallway selfie with a caption, "Finally with my real family. Real." That word became a splinter under my skin. I didn't comment. I didn't like. I didn't text her about missing the kids. I knew she wanted that. She wanted to see me beg, to feel powerful across an ocean. Instead, I watched. I watched what she posted, and I watched what she didn't. No pictures of me, obviously, but also no pictures of who was taking the pictures. There's always someone behind the camera. Evan texted me once, 2 days in. Dad, Mom's been weird. I stared at the message for a long time. I wanted to ask 100 questions. I wanted to tell him everything. But Tess's voice sat in my head like a warning light. Keep them out of the blast. So I wrote back, I'm here. You okay? He replied, Yeah, just she keeps talking about new beginnings, like you don't exist. My throat tightened. I didn't answer right away. I walked around my motel room with the phone in my hand like it was heavier than it should be. Then I typed, You don't have to pick sides. Just be honest about how you feel. I love you. A minute later, love you too. That was it. That was the whole conversation. A thin wire across a canyon. Meanwhile, Elise sent me screenshots. Gavin texting her good night at 10:41 p.m., the same minute his number appeared in Mara's phone log with a 7-minute call. Gavin telling Elise he was in bed early, while Mara posted a blurry photo of city lights with a caption about late-night talks. 2 women, 2 stories. 1 man stitching lies like he thought he could sew reality. Elise and I met in person on day 5. A public place, bright and loud, a diner near the highway with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like pennies. Miles sat at a table across the room, reading the same newspaper for an hour straight. Witness. Elise was younger than I expected, late 20s maybe, and she looked like she'd spent the last week not sleeping. Her hair was pulled into a messy knot. Her eyes were red-rimmed but hard. She slid into the booth and said, I don't want pity. Good, I said. I don't have any to spare. That made her laugh once, short and sharp. We traded timelines. Not feelings, not poetry. Facts. Her receipts were clean, saved messages, shared calendar invites, photos from a work retreat Gavin claimed was men only, but somehow had women's shoes in the background. She showed me an engagement email draft he'd sent her by mistake. Venue options, date ranges, guest list notes. At the bottom, a line that turned my stomach. Need to keep things quiet until after Europe. After Europe, like Mara was part of his schedule. You think she knows about you? Elise asked. I pictured Mara's face at the gala, the annoyed certainty. No, I said. Mara thinks she's the exception. Elise, she said. That's what he calls me when he's being gentle. Mara thinks she's special, I corrected. Elise's fingers tightened around her coffee mug. He makes women feel special. That's how he gets what he wants. What does he want? I asked. Elise leaned forward. Control, she said. Access. He flirts with donors, with staff, with anyone who can open doors. He doesn't cheat like a drunk guy at a bar. He cheats like a businessman. A cold understanding settled into me. That means, I said slowly, this isn't just personal. Elise nodded. It's a pattern. I thought of Tess's earlier warning, of compliance investigations, of contracts and morals, clauses and reputations. This wasn't a fistfight. This was a demolition. Elise slid her phone across the table. On the screen was an email thread with a corporate header, Gavin's company, a message from their internal HR department about prior boundary complaints and conduct expectations. It wasn't addressed to her, but it was in a forwarded chain from a friend of hers in the company. He's been warned, Elise said. Twice. I looked at her. Why are you showing me this? Because you're the only one who won't fold, she said. Your wife thinks you're a doormat. Gavin thinks you're an obstacle. I think you're a lever. She said it bluntly. No romance to it, just survival. I respected that. What do you want from me? I asked. Elise's voice dropped. I want you to do what you're already doing, she said. But I want you to do it so hard he can't spin it. I stared at her, then glanced at Miles across the diner. He gave me a tiny nod, like, You good? I was good. I was too good. Okay, I said. Here's what happens next. We keep collecting. We keep it legal. And when they step off that plane, the ground won't be there anymore. Elise swallowed. He's going to propose, she said. He told me he wants a fresh start when he gets back. I smiled without humor. Great, I said. Let him bring a ring to a funeral. The photographer's preview gallery went live on day 6. I didn't tell Tess right away. I didn't tell Elise. I sat alone in my motel room with the laptop open and the curtains drawn, and I scrolled like I was looking for my own autopsy. Pictures of donors smiling. Pictures of champagne glasses. Pictures of couples laughing with their hands on each other's backs. Then there was Mara and Gavin. One shot had them standing too close. His hand at her waist, her head tilted toward his shoulder. Another had them in the background, slightly out of focus, but it didn't matter. Body language is louder than pixels. And then there was the photo that made my lungs stop working for a beat. Mara had been laughing at something Gavin said, her fingers hooked lightly under his tie, pulling him toward her like it was a joke. Gavin's eyes weren't on the camera. They were on her mouth. That was proof. Not of an affair, not of a hotel room, but of intimacy so public it might as well have been an announcement. I downloaded the gallery in full resolution. I saved the file names. I kept the email receipts. No hacking, no trespassing. Just a hired photographer doing his job. I forwarded the key images to Tess with a short note. Clean evidence. She replied in under a minute. Good. Do not send these to anyone else yet. I didn't. Instead, I sent a different email. This one to the museum coordinator again, thanking them and requesting a short statement confirming sponsor photo access. It sounds petty, but paper trails are what keep you safe when someone tries to twist the story later. That afternoon, I got a call from an unfamiliar number with my area code. I answered, expecting another spammer. Mr. Hart? A man asked. My last name, said like it meant something. Yes, I said. This is Damian Price, the man said. I'm with your company's compliance office. We received your inquiry. Of course they did. Of course it moved fast. Companies don't move fast for feelings. They move fast for risk. Okay, I said. Can you speak privately? He asked. I can, I said, and glanced at the motel's thin door like it might have ears. Damian's voice was practiced calm. I'm not asking for personal details, he said. But I need to understand whether there is a potential conflict of interest involving a vendor partner and an employee. If you have documentation relevant to that, you can submit it through our secure portal. I almost laughed. Secure portal? Like my marriage needed encryption. I have documentation, I said. Okay, Damian said. Also, Mr. Hart, I need to advise you. Please do not confront the individuals in a way that could be seen as harassment or intimidation. Keep communications factual. I thought of Gavin's smug face at the gala. I thought of Mara's annoyance. Understood, I said. After the call, I stared at my reflection in the motel bathroom mirror. I didn't look like a guy planning revenge. I looked like a tired man with stubble and dark circles and the kind of eyes people get when they're carrying something heavy alone. But the difference was, I wasn't alone anymore. I had Tess, I had Miles, I had Elise, and I had time. On day 8, Elise sent me a message. He's getting suspicious. What makes you say that? I wrote. He asked if anyone contacted you, she replied. He asked if I'd seen you, like he's doing inventory. I felt that old cold calm return. Let him be suspicious, I wrote. Suspicion isn't proof. Elise replied, he's good at twisting things. He'll make you the villain. I stared at that word. Villain. It hit like a joke someone tells at your expense. Because villains, in stories, are the ones who do what heroes won't. They don't forgive. They don't heal. They don't take the high road. They take the road that gets results. I typed slowly. If he wants a villain, I'll give him one. But I'll do it with receipts. That night, Mara texted me from Europe. No greeting, no, how are the roads? Just, Evan says you're acting weird. What are you doing? I could picture her in a hotel bed, phone held above her like a spotlight. I could picture Gavin beside her, or in the room next door, listening. My hand stayed steady as I typed. Working, same as always. Enjoy your trip. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, don't do anything stupid, Cal. I smiled, small and private. Too late, I whispered. But not out loud. Not in writing. Never in writing. I deleted the message thread from my screen and opened the compliance portal. I uploaded the photos. I uploaded the phone log excerpt showing the repeated contact number. I uploaded a timeline. Boring. Factual. Brutal. When I clicked submit, I didn't feel joy. I felt something closer to relief. Because now it wasn't my word against hers. It was a file in a system. And systems don't care about tears. On day 10, Damien from compliance asked me to meet. Not in an office with glass walls and inspirational posters. In a conference room tucked in the back of a building I'd only visited once, the kind of place companies use when they don't want anyone to notice a fire until it's out. Miles drove. He parked in the far corner and watched the lot while I went inside. Witness, again, always. Damien shook my hand like he'd been taught to. His eyes were the color of copier paper. Thank you for coming, he said. Sure, I said. My voice sounded calm. It didn't feel calm. Damien slid a folder across the table. We've opened a preliminary review, he said. We'll need to interview certain parties. I can't share outcomes, but I can share process. Process. The word that keeps people from punching walls, the word that makes revenge possible without getting your hands dirty. He looked at my documents. Your submission was thorough, he said. Good, I said. Damien hesitated. I'm going to say something off the record, he said, and then he checked himself. Not off the record, just human. I raised an eyebrow. We've had prior concerns about this vendor contact, he said carefully. Not with your wife specifically, but in general. I leaned back. So he's done this before. Damien's jaw tightened. I can't confirm specifics. But yes, boundary issues have been raised. Elise had been right. Pattern. I left the building feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. As I walked toward the parking lot, my phone buzzed with a new message from Evan. A single line. Mom says you're trying to ruin her. My throat closed. Before I could type back, I saw movement near the far side of the lot. Gavin. He was walking toward a black SUV with tinted windows. He was on his phone, jaw working. Even from a distance, he looked tense. Not smug, not smooth. Good. Then I saw Mara's car pull into the lot, like a ghost from my old life. Same silver sedan, same dent near the rear bumper from when she backed into a mailbox and blamed the mailbox. She wasn't supposed to be back yet. They were still in Europe. Unless... A thought flickered. Maybe she'd flown back early. Maybe something had shifted. But then I saw the driver. A woman I didn't know. Same hair color as Mara, same build, but not her. She parked 2 spaces away from Gavin. Gavin ended his call and leaned into the passenger window, talking fast. The woman inside frowned, shook her head, then handed him something. Papers, maybe. My heart beat once, hard. What was this? Another woman? Another lie? I slowed my steps, keeping distance, keeping plausible deniability. Miles was still in the car in the far corner, watching. Gavin glanced around, and for a second his eyes landed on me. Recognition hit him like a slap. His posture changed, shoulders tensed. He looked like a deer that just smelled a hunter. I didn't speed up. I didn't wave. I simply walked toward my car like I belonged there, like I had nowhere else to be. Gavin turned away fast, talking to the woman again, then slammed the SUV door and climbed in. The SUV roared out of the lot, tires kicking gravel. The woman in the sedan watched him go, then looked around like she expected someone to explain what just happened. I caught her eye for a second. She looked scared. Then she drove off, too. I got into Miles's car and shut the door. Miles didn't ask. He just said, "That him?" "Yeah," I said. Miles's eyes stayed on the lot. He looked spooked. "He should be," I said. I checked my phone. Elise had sent a message 5 minutes ago. He just told me he had to handle something at work. He sounded panicked. I stared at the screen. So Gavin was running around, plugging holes, and Mara was still across an ocean, posting pastries and pretending the ground was solid. I thought of Evan's text. "Mom says you're trying to ruin her." That was the narrative taking shape. I'm jealous, I'm unstable, I'm spiteful. I'm dangerous. The villain, like Elise said. I turned the phone face down and stared through the windshield at the empty spaces where Gavin's SUV had been. "I'm not ruining her," I said, mostly to myself. Miles glanced at me. "Then what are you doing?" I exhaled slowly. "I'm letting her see what she built," I said. "All the lies, all the cracks. I'm just shining a flashlight into them." Miles nodded once. "Flashlights can start fires," he said. "Good," I said, because I'm tired of being kept in the dark. As we drove away, my phone buzzed again. A message from Mara, sent from Europe, time-stamped 3:14 a.m., her time. "Stop talking to people about our marriage. This is abusive." I stared at it until the words blurred. Abusive. That was the script she'd use, the magic word that turns a victim into a weapon. I typed one sentence back, calm as a judge. "I'm following legal advice. Please communicate through Tess." Then I turned the phone off. If she wanted to play words, fine. I had documents. And the clock was still ticking. 4 days until their plane landed. 4 days until Mara walked back into our driveway thinking she was in control. 4 days until she learned what it feels like when someone changes plans on you. Gavin called the night before Mara's return flight. Unknown number, but I knew it. The same digits from the phone logs. Work printer dialing me direct. "You need to stop," he said. "Whatever you think you're doing, stop." "You called me," I said. "So no." He tried charm, then anger. He called me crazy, hinted at restraining orders, said I was harassing them. "Say it to my attorney," I told him. He laughed. "Meet me," he said. "Man to man, tonight, my garage, 9. He wanted to perform. He wanted video. He wanted the story where I'm the aggressor. "Okay," I said, 9. Miles raised an eyebrow. "Trap." "Yep," I said. We parked across the street and walked into the condo garage under buzzing lights. Concrete, cameras, echoes. Gavin waited by his SUV, phone in hand, recording. "You brought your buddy," he said. "He's here so nobody lies," I said. Gavin lifted the phone higher. "Talk," he said. "Then leave." "I'm not here to talk," I said. I pulled an envelope from my coat and tossed it. It hit his chest and dropped. He stared at it, then ripped it open. His eyes ran over the first page, and the color left his face. "What is this?" he whispered. "A notice," I said. "Compliance review. Case number's right there. Call them if you want." "You can't do this," he snapped. "I didn't," I said. "You did." He stepped toward me, then saw Miles, then saw the ceiling camera and stopped. Smart. He hissed, "You're ruining Mara." "No," I said. "You're ruining Mara. I'm just not catching her." His phone stayed pointed at me like a weapon. "I'll tell people you're stalking me," he said. "Do it," I said. "Include the part where you've been calling my wife at midnight for months." His eyes widened. "You talked to Elise." I didn't answer. I just let the silence do the work. I stepped closer, close enough for my voice to be a secret, not close enough to be a crime. "I'm not here to hurt you," I said softly. "I'm here to make you remember you're not untouchable." Gavin swallowed, backed toward the elevator, and jabbed the button like he was escaping a fire. As the doors closed, he threw one last line at me. "This isn't over." "For me," I said, "it is." Outside, the cold night air hit my lungs like clean water. My phone buzzed. "Evan." "Dad, we land tomorrow." I stared at the screen and typed, "I'll be there." Mara's plane was coming home, and she still had no idea what I already set in motion. Airports are built for reunions, but they feel like funerals when you're watching the wrong people come home. I stood by the arrivals gate with a paper cup of bad coffee and my hands in my coat pockets. I looked normal. That was the point. The last thing I needed was security thinking I was some unstable husband about to make a scene. Miles was a few yards away, pretending to scroll his phone. Tess was on standby by text. Elise was probably pacing in her apartment, watching her own clock. The big screens showed flights. Ours flashed, landed. My stomach tightened. Not from love, from anticipation. People poured out of the jet bridge like a river. Tired faces, rolling luggage, kids whining, couples bickering about where they parked. Ordinary. Then I saw Evan. He walked first, taller than I remembered from 2 weeks ago, like time had stretched him while I was busy tearing up my life. He had a backpack on one shoulder, and his eyes were scanning the crowd. He saw me and stopped cold. For half a second he looked like he might run. Then he did. He didn't tackle me. He didn't cry. He hit me with his shoulder and pressed his forehead against my chest like he was anchoring himself. "Hey," I said, and my voice broke just a little. He pulled back and looked at my face. "You look different," he said. "I am," I said. Behind him, my little one came bouncing out, dragging a small suitcase and holding a toy airplane. "Dad!" they yelled, and I crouched, arms open. I hugged them, and for a second the world narrowed down to that small body and that familiar smell of kid shampoo and airport air. Then Mara appeared. She wore sunglasses indoors, which tells you everything. She walked with purpose, like the airport belonged to her, like she was the only person in the building with a schedule. Gavin wasn't with her. That was interesting. Either he'd stayed behind, or he'd arrived separately, or he'd been told to keep distance now that the ground was shaking. Mara stopped in front of me and smiled like a politician. "Cal," she said, like I was a coworker she didn't like. "Mara," I said. She kissed the kids on their heads, not me. "We need to talk," she said, voice low. "Sure," I said, "at home." Her eyes flicked over me, quick, taking inventory, looking for cracks, looking for the begging she expected. She didn't find it. Evan watched her. His face was guarded now. Mara adjusted her scarf and said, "I hope you behaved while we were gone." I almost laughed. Instead I said, "I hope you did." Her mouth tightened. She leaned closer, still smiling for the public. "Don't play games," she whispered. "I know what you're doing." "Do you?" I whispered back. Her eyes flashed. "Yes," she said. "You're trying to punish me because you're insecure." That was her favorite move. Reduce my pain to a flaw in me. Therapy speak as a weapon. I nodded slowly. "Let's talk at home," I said again. She couldn't argue without looking bad, so she turned to the kids. "Okay," she said brightly. "Let's go get the car." As we walked toward the parking garage, I felt the old life trying to wrap around me again. Habit, routine, denial. The kids pulling on my hands, Mara leading like a tour guide. But underneath it, the new reality hummed, waiting. At the elevator, Mara glanced at my hands. "Where's your ring?" she asked, like she'd just noticed the weather. I looked down at my bare finger. I hadn't taken it off for drama. I'd taken it off because wearing it felt like lying. "I put it away," I said. Her face hardened. "Don't be dramatic." I met her eyes. "Don't be stupid," I said softly. The elevator doors opened, and we stepped inside with strangers. Mara's posture went stiff. She didn't like being challenged in public. Good. We reached the car. The kids piled in. Mara slammed the trunk, then leaned into the window and said, "Evan, honey, put your headphones on, okay? Mom and Dad have adult stuff to talk about." Evan didn't move. He just stared at her. "What adult stuff?" he asked. Mara's smile faltered. "Just grown-up things," she said. Evan looked at me. "Dad?" I kept my voice calm. "We'll talk later," I said. "All of us." Mara's eyes narrowed, warning. I ignored it. As we drove out of the airport, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Tess. "Compliance scheduled interviews for tomorrow morning. Be ready." I stared out at the gray winter sky above the highway. Tomorrow morning. Perfect. Mara thought we were heading home to a conversation she could control. She had no idea we were heading toward a room full of people who didn't care about her smile. And for the first time in 2 weeks, I felt something close to satisfaction. Not because she was about to hurt, because she was about to learn. Home smelled the same. Laundry detergent, old wood, a hint of the vanilla candle Mara always lit when she wanted the house to feel like a magazine. But something was different. Maybe it was the photos on the wall. 2 weeks ago, they'd been little monuments to our life. Now they felt like exhibits. Evidence. Mara marched in first, dropped her purse on the counter, and said, "Okay, now, what is going on?" The kids were in the living room, half unpacking. Evan hovered in the hallway, listening. I set my keys down slowly. "The kids need food," I said. Mara scoffed. "They just ate on the plane." "Food," I repeated. "Then we talk." She started to argue, then caught Evan's eyes and forced a smile. "Fine," she said. Go wash your hands, guys. When the kids moved away, Mara rounded on me like a storm. Did you contact my work? She demanded. I looked at her and saw the familiar pattern. Accuse first, control the frame. If I denied, she'd say I was lying. If I admitted, she'd say I was abusive. I chose a third option. I contacted my attorney, I said. Her eyes widened. You? She lowered her voice. You can't do this to me. To you, I repeated. She stepped closer. Cal, you're being irrational. You're letting jealousy. Stop, I said, and the word cut through her like a clap. Stop talking like you're on a podcast. Her cheeks flushed. Excuse me? Say what you mean, I said, in plain English. Her lips pressed tight. Then she said it, sharp. You're trying to embarrass me. I nodded. You embarrassed me first. Mara's eyes flashed. How? She hissed. By taking a trip? By taking the kids on vacation? That's what good mothers do. You didn't just take a trip, I said. She scoffed. Oh my God, you're still hung up on that text. It was a joke. A joke, I repeated. Mara lifted her chin. Evan started calling you real dad as a joke, she said. It was light. You always take things. Don't, Evan said from the hallway. We both froze. Evan stepped into the cookroom, face pale. Don't blame me, he said. His voice shook but held. I never said that. Mara's eyes flicked, panic. Evan, honey? No, he said. You said it. You texted Dad. I saw your phone. Mara's mouth opened, closed. Her mask slipped for half a second, revealing something raw and ugly. Then she snapped it back on. Go to your room, she said. This is adult stuff. Evan didn't move. I said quietly, Evan, take your sibling upstairs, please. Evan hesitated, then nodded, grabbed the little one's hand, and led them away. The little one looked back at us, confused, clutching the toy airplane like it could fly them out of this. The moment they disappeared up the stairs, Mara lunged for my phone on the counter. I moved faster, slid it into my pocket. What are you hiding? She demanded. Nothing you don't already know, I said. Her breathing quickened. You're talking to people, she said. You're spreading rumors. You're trying to destroy my reputation. I stared at her. My reputation, I said, or yours? Mara's eyes glittered. If you ruin me, she said, you ruin the kids. That's your line? I asked. That's what you've got? She hissed through her teeth. You don't understand how this works. People talk, schools talk, parents talk. You'll make us a spectacle. I leaned on the counter and felt the cold surface against my palms. You already made us a spectacle, I said. You just did it quietly. Mara's voice dropped cold. Who told you? She asked. I smiled, small. You did, I said. You left breadcrumbs. You thought I was too dumb to follow them. She flinched, then recovered. You're imagining things, she said. You're spiraling. This is exactly why I needed space. Space? Another pretty word for distance. Tomorrow morning, I said. What? She snapped. Tomorrow morning, I repeated. You're going to a meeting. Her eyes narrowed. What meeting? I didn't answer. She stepped forward again, trying to loom. Cal, she said low. If you're threatening me, I'm not threatening you, I said. I'm informing you. There's a difference. Mara's hands clenched. You can't control me, she said. I looked at her. Really looked. The woman I'd married. The woman who used to laugh with her whole body before she learned how to curate herself. I'm not trying to control you, I said. I'm trying to free myself. Mara's eyes went wide, not with fear, but with disbelief, like she couldn't imagine me choosing something that didn't revolve around her. Cal, she said, softer now, switching tactics. Please, let's just talk. We can fix this. Fix. Like you glue a broken plate together and pretend it never shattered. I shook my head. I'm done pretending, I said. Mara's voice snapped back to cold. Then you'll regret it, she said. Maybe, I said. But I won't be confused anymore. She stared at me, and for the first time I saw it. Not guilt, not love, but calculation. She was trying to find the angle that would keep her in control, and she couldn't. From upstairs I heard the kid's door close. The house fell silent, tense as a held breath. Mara whispered, What did you do while we were gone? I met her eyes. I returned the favor, I said. I changed plans. Mara dressed for the meeting like it was church. Blazer, perfect hair, that necklace her mom gave her when we got married. She painted on lipstick in the hallway mirror like she could seal a crack with color. "You're coming with me?" she asked. "I'm meeting Tess," I said. "You're making this a circus," she snapped. "You did that," I said. We drove separately. Tess met me in the downtown lobby with Miles a few steps behind. She carried a folder and wore the kind of calm that makes liars nervous. "You holding up?" she asked. "I'm upright," I said. "That counts," she said. Damian Price from compliance appeared at the elevators and guided us to a quiet floor I'd never been on. No posters, no welcome signs. Just closed doors and neutral carpet. Inside the conference room, a woman in a gray suit waited with a laptop open. Her nameplate read Karen Fields, Investigations. And at the far end of the table sat Elise. Mara walked in behind us, saw her, and stopped like she'd hit a wall. "What is this?" she demanded. Karen didn't blink. "An interview," she said. "Have a seat." Before Mara could answer, the door opened again and Gavin stepped in. He looked smaller in here, not physically, socially. The room didn't care about his smile. "Elise," he said, forcing warmth. "Baby?" "Don't," Elise said. Mara's head turned between them, confusion turning to suspicion. Karen folded her hands. "This review concerns undisclosed personal relationships and potential influence on vendor decisions," she said. "We have phone records showing repeated contact outside business hours and photographs from a sponsor event showing physical intimacy." Mara's eyes snapped to me. "You," she hissed. I stayed quiet. Let the paper talk. Gavin leaned forward. "This is because he's jealous," he said. "He's harassing us." Karen's voice stayed flat. The phone logs provided were from the account holder. No illegal access occurred. We also have calendar coordination aligning with personal travel. Mara's face drained of color. "We're friends," she said too fast. "We work together." Karen clicked her laptop, then looked at Gavin. "Mr. Gavin, we also have prior boundary complaints on record involving your conduct," she said, "and we have supporting statements from additional parties." Gavin's eyes widened. "Additional?" "Elise," Karen said, "do you confirm you are engaged to Mr. Gavin?" Elise's gaze didn't leave his face. "Not anymore," she said. Mara's breath caught. "Engaged?" she whispered. Elise finally looked at Mara. "He told you you were special," she said. "He tells everyone that." Gavin snapped, "Stop." Elise's voice turned sharp. "You scheduled her," she said, nodding at Mara. "Like an appointment?" Karen closed the laptop. "At this time, Mr. Gavin, your vendor access is suspended pending further review. Ms. Hart, you are placed on administrative leave while we determine policy violations." Mara shot up. "You can't." Damian stood, calm but firm. "Ms. Hart, please sit." Gavin's face tightened. "This is ridiculous." Karen opened the engagement email thread Elise had provided and read one line aloud. "Need to keep things quiet until after Europe." Mara's head snapped toward Gavin. "After Europe?" she repeated, and the words sounded like glass. Elise reached into her pocket, pulled out a small ring box, opened it, and set it on the table. Then she shut it and pushed it toward him. A clean, final motion. You don't get to propose to anyone ever again," she said. The door opened. A security guard stepped in. Gavin looked around like he expected someone to save him. No one did. As he passed me, his eyes met mine. Fear and fury. I leaned in slightly and said, quiet and final, "You wanted a real dad in this story." His lips parted. I finished, cold as winter air. "Congratulations," I said. "Now the kids have one parent they can trust." The elevator ride down felt longer than the whole marriage. Mara stood in the corner, arms crossed tight like she could hold her life together by force. Her face was pale under the makeup. She kept checking her phone, typing furious messages, deleting them, typing again. Tess watched her with the calm of someone who's seen 100 versions of this. Miles stared at the floor. I stared at the numbers above the doors as they ticked down. When we reached the lobby, the doors opened onto bright daylight and the hum of normal office life. People with coffee, people with badges, people who had no idea a small earthquake had just happened upstairs. Mara stepped out fast, heels clicking like gunshots. She turned on me the second we hit the marble floor. "You did this," she said, voice shaking. I didn't stop walking. Tess stayed beside me. Miles followed. Mara grabbed my sleeve. Not hard, but desperate. I stopped then, turned, and looked at her hand on me. She snatched it back like she'd touched something hot. "You're destroying me," she whispered. "No," I said. "I'm letting the truth do its job." Her eyes filled, not with tears, but with a kind of wild panic. "Cal, please," she said. "Think about the kids. Think about what this will do to them. I felt my jaw tighten. Don't use them, I said. I'm not using them, she insisted, but her voice wobbled. I'm trying to keep our family together. I almost laughed. It would have been cruel, so I didn't. You told me the kids wanted their real dad, I said quietly. You typed that with your own fingers. You sent it like it was nothing. You don't get to talk about keeping family together now. Mara's face twisted. I didn't mean... You meant it, I said. You meant it in the moment, and that's enough. She opened her mouth to argue, to rewrite, to smooth it over. That was her superpower, turning sharp things into soft ones with words. But behind her, the lobby doors swung open again. Gavin walked out with the security guard at his shoulder. His phone was in his hand, his face tight, his eyes scanning for an audience. He saw Mara. He saw me. For a second, the three of us formed a triangle in the middle of the lobby like some ugly piece of modern art. Mara's eyes darted to him, pleading. Gavin, she whispered like the name was a rope. Gavin didn't step toward her. He stepped away. Because predators don't stand next to the prey when the lights come on. Mara's face collapsed as the truth landed in her body, not her brain, not love, not partnership, just convenience. Gavin's eyes flicked to me again, and I saw something there I hadn't expected. Not hate, resentment, like he'd convinced himself I was the thief who stole his toy. The security guard guided him toward the exit. Gavin's expensive shoes squeaked once on the marble. Mara took a step after him. Wait, she said, louder now. Heads turned. Office people looked. The spectacle she feared, arriving right on schedule. Gavin didn't stop. Two assistants in badge lanyards drifted closer, slowed by instinct and office boredom. One of them raised a phone like he was checking a message, but the camera lens was aimed our way. Mara noticed it and flinched, then forced her shoulders back, trying to look composed while floor slid out from under her. She stepped after Gavin again, faster this time, and the security guard shifted with her, still polite, still blocking. Ma'am, he said, voice low. Please keep moving. Mara snapped, I work here, even though she didn't. Not really, not anymore. The words came out on autopilot, the same tone she used with waiters and teachers and anyone she expected to obey. It didn't work. Nothing about this morning obeyed her. For a heartbeat, she looked at me like she might swing, not with a fist, but with another word. Then her eyes flicked to the watching phones, and she swallowed it down. A woman from the reception desk hurried past with a clipboard and avoided Mara's gaze the way people avoid a spill on the floor, like looking might make them responsible. Mara saw that avoidance, and it finally hit her. This wasn't a fight she could win with charm. Her smile gone in plain view, Mara's breath hitched. She looked back at me with something like terror. This can't be it, she said. This can't be how it ends. I thought of all the ways it could have ended if I'd handled it differently. If I'd punched a wall, if I'd screamed, if I'd begged, if I'd tried to win her back. Those endings would have been messy. They would have been endless. This ending was clean. Tess touched my elbow. We should go, she said. I nodded once. Mara stepped in front of me again, blocking my path like she could stop gravity. Cal, she said, voice breaking. Please, I'll fix it. I'll call Damien. I'll explain. It was just... Just what? I asked. Her mouth opened, closed. She couldn't find a word that didn't sound like a confession. Behind her, the security guard returned and stood a few feet away, watching, ready to intervene if voices got too loud. Mara noticed him and swallowed. She was used to rooms where she controlled the air. This wasn't one of them. I leaned in slightly, not threatening, just close enough for her to hear me over the lobby noise. You wanted a real dad, I said. Her eyes went wide. You got one, I said. And he's done being written out. I stepped around her. She reached for me again, then stopped, like she finally understood touching me wouldn't pull me back into place. As I walked toward the glass doors, sunlight hit my face, bright and cold. Behind me, Mara's voice cracked, loud enough for the lobby to hear. Cal, you can't just leave. I didn't turn around, because the truth was, I could. The doors opened. Tess and Miles walked out with me. The doors closed behind us with a soft, final sound. And on the other side of the glass, Mara stood frozen, watching the world she curated fall apart without her permission.